It's a new day. Yes, it is. Welcome to the new version of the AZ Wildcats podcast. We'll see you in 30 seconds. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome in, everybody, to the AZ Wildcats podcast, live from Studio K, presented by our friends over at Circle K. I am Damon Fairall, joined by my man, Kevin Thomas. And of course, this is the AZ Wildcats podcast. Like I said earlier, I think, this is obviously a new opportunity for us, Kevin.
Indeed.
New version of this show. I think it would only be right, in my opinion, to start off by just saying, we want to thank Mike Luke for building this show for, from the ground up like he did. And I think Mike's been great to both of us, and we both have a lot of respect for Mike, and he's going to crush his next opportunity and next chapter that he's moving into. So just wanted to get out ahead of that, hit the elephant in the room there. And then, we can, after you say anything you want on that, we can move on and start talking some about us and how we got here. Yeah,
1,000%. Like Damon said, nothing but respect to Mike Luke and Jason Shear and that whole crew. They do great work. They're going to continue to do great work, and we can't wait to see what is next in their journey as well. But this is what's next in our journey in this part of the show. Mm-hmm. Like Damon said, and I saw Saul say it on Twitter earlier, like, we are two diehards for this school. We love the U of A. We back the A every day, even when it's hard. That's the kind of energy we're excited to bring to you guys. Like, we love this school just like you do, and we just want to make sure that you guys are informed and entertained just like we are informed and entertained every day. Because we actually share an office here at PHNX. So yeah, everyone has the mispleasure or pleasure of being around us every day.
Displeasure, but absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Kevin and I, just a little inside baseball here at PHNX HQ. Kevin and I are definitely top tier arguers. We like to find little nuanced points
that first minute right there was the most cordial this show's ever going to be.
Absolutely. I think we're gonna find a lot of little niche things to argue about.
I mean, I said mispleasure, and he already was like, it's actually displeasure.
Yeah, no big deal. English, but yeah, I mean, I'm from Tucson. I grew up in Tucson my whole life. I went to U of A for undergrad, and really this has been a dream come true for me. Like, ever since I was in middle school, I knew I wanted to do sports media. I knew I wanted to be on sports radio and podcasting, and covering the Arizona Wildcats is genuinely my dream and always has been. So this is, an awesome opportunity for me. Obviously the circumstances of it are a little bit weird, but I'm going to make the most of it. I know Kevin is too. Kevin, obviously you can talk a little bit more about yourself, but you went to U of A for undergrad, not from Arizona, but this is definitely the team that you're connected to the most here.
1,000%. Yeah, I'm actually from St. Louis originally, as some people in the chat probably know. I talk about it a lot. Actually, maybe I never mentioned it. Who knows? But
no. You're from St. Louis?
Yeah. And I don't really mention it a lot. 314, shout out. But I went to U of A for undergrad, studied journalism there. Like, barely missed a home basketball game. One of the most electric environments in the whole country, right? So, I love U of A. I stayed here in Arizona for a reason after I graduated. I love this state. I love Tucson especially. I don't know anyone, honestly. I've lived in Tucson before for like 6 years. I've not met a single person who defends Tucson as vehemently as Damon Dog.
Oh no, I'll go to war. It's time for war. That's like my personal bat signal. So even though we're up here in Phoenix and we're in downtown Phoenix at our office here, I'm definitely Mr. Put my cape on and rep for Tucson when I need to at the end of the day.
Absolutely have to, especially in Phoenix. Like, we're behind enemy lines, like we're in the trenches.
Absolutely.
Like, we're really in it. We got Eric Ruby in the office all the time, just talking trash. He was talking about how ASU is going to have the best offense in the country next year, which is, even Shane behind the Mac, his eyebrows raised.
We'll
That's
get to
an
those
insane
guys.
statement. But those are the people we have to deal with as Wildcats in Phoenix, right? So you get it. You get our struggle. And that's why Damon and I have to cape up for y'all, for us, for all the Wildcats. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. I think this is definitely gonna be a lot of fun. I know we're both pumped for it. We're diving straight into the deep end, cannonball. So yeah, I mean, I think this is gonna be just an awesome opportunity for the both of us, and I mean, I'm honestly pumped to get into this gig and hopefully get into a little bit more winning, because this last season for Arizona athletics has been pretty rough.
Yeah, I was actually just about to say, like, yes, the show is awesome, but the show is going to be a lot more awesome if the teams are awesome too. Because we all just experienced this last, however many months it has been. Basketball, we're going to see the ETA on if they arrive this season or not. But regardless of team performance, obviously it's more fun when the teams are great. But we're just excited to be doing this, and hopefully the additions to the football team are going to help the winning increase here as well. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's a great way to preview what we're going to be talking about here after when we get into this next segment, and we're going to be tier ranking the transfer portal commits from Arizona football, including the returnees that entered the transfer portal and thus withdrew their names as well from the transfer portal. But as far as like the how this show is going to go, we're gonna be at 12 p.m. noon. I think every day, basically, unless there is a post-game show to do. And then, of course, we'll be doing a post-game for that instead in lieu of that. So
and I'm sure Shane will, sorry to cut you off, but I'm sure Shane will have to literally pull us out of the studio to stop covering the Cats now that it's like our gig, like it's our thing.
Yeah.
Like before, it's
just for fun.
Yeah, before it's just for the love of the game.
Yeah.
But now, like, Shane's going to have to pull us out the office physically to get us to stop working now. So good luck with that one. But
hey, that's just a couple killers right there. Hey. That's what we always say. Killers only.
KO.
Killers only on this show.
Yes.
That's the new motto.
And in the chat now too.
Yeah, so Tom Mix here. Let's welcome in everybody in the chat. We see a lot of familiar faces. We got Jacob, we got Anthony Totri, Eric Ruby, some of our coworkers
the basketball
there.
Football guy, shout out.
Erica Day is in the chat.
She stopped listening to a new album for us.
I mean, that's how kind of you, Erica. Bo Brock, basketball and football guy. That's my guy right there. Coach Stark.
Coach Stark.
We appreciate you, brother. Always tuning in, even though he's an ASU guy. I was texting with Coach Stark. Kobe's a great dude. Great follow on Twitter as well.
Really good on Twitter. He's currently in the portal himself, actually.
Is he?
If you look at his Twitter, he's being recruited as a fan to different places.
It was that bad of a season for us. Huh? You got bad of a 2024.
You could say that. You could also say, you got motion when other schools want you to root for them. Mm-hmm. Not even play. Just like, come, please, Kobe, come cheer for us. We need you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Clearly it didn't work for us this year, but hopefully it works for Texas Tech.
Saul, we're pumped for this opportunity as well. Thanks for tuning in, my guy. Tom Mix says, so can I finally ask this question, get an answer? Do you think Brennan will get another year, or do you think it's time to put up or shut up? Does he have to make a bowl game? Well, Tom, we do have an answer on that, brother. Brent Brennan will be back next season and at least has one more opportunity to prove that he's, not a dumpster fire of a coach, and can put some talent out on the field and hopefully corral that talent and play a well-rounded football game with it.
And he asked, if we could pull that comment back up, Shane. I think he asked if we have to make a bowl game for him to be deemed successful or whatnot. I don't think so. Like, I honestly think it's about the way the product looks, right? I think, like, even if we didn't have a successful year this past season, fans would have been a lot more patient with Brent Brennan if the product looked more competent, if it looked more like it was progressing towards something. I think a lot of weeks we felt like we were going backwards. And so I think if the product looks better, fans' perceptions will totally shift, wins or not. But a bowl game would be sweet. I'm not trying to say we don't have to make one. We that should be the expectation at Arizona. But I don't think he has to make a bowl game to stay for a third year as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think initially when you said that, that was something that I was like, yeah, you probably do have to make a bowl game to be deemed successful. But I understand your point there. Like, when Jed Fish came in his second season, Arizona won 5 football games. But everyone could see that Arizona was building something, that there was an identity to the football team that
like ASU last year.
Yeah, you were getting, guys like T-Mac and recruiting well. Like, if they can build some momentum and just show, hey, we're a competent staff. We can put together an offensive game plan. We can, have a well-rounded team against our not even against the top competition, against Northern Arizona when we're playing NAU and we're in a dogfight with NAU in week 3 last year. So I think you just need to see, like you said, just an identity being built, a strategy to the offense. Not just like what we saw last season, which was a lot of like plays breaking down, offensive line structure breaking down, and Noah Fafita having to kind of playoff structure.
Like, brother, we had rappers like Plies was on Twitter, a rapper, not even from Tucson, I don't think, on Twitter talking about some
Big
Arizona
UVA
is the only team in the country that looks like they do not have coaches. The man raps. He does not coach football. Like it was so evident last season that the product was not good and that it lacked direction. I think is probably the best word. It lacked direction. And yeah, I think for me as a fan, if I can see direction, if I can see progress, if I can see progression towards the goal, which is winning bowl games, then I think I'll be content for next year. But obviously we're super far from that. We got to get people in first, right? So that's what we're in the process of right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're seen a big influx in pretty high quality, I would say some decent quality recruits for Arizona football, and maybe what we expected as a fan base after, seeing a mass exodus of players. And here's one of my favorite guys to see on Twitter, Chef in the chat here. Extend Brennan needs more time. Interesting opinion. I will say when he tweets that, when I see him tweet that, it is pretty funny. He's quote tweeted me saying that before. Made me laugh. But yeah, I mean, I think there's some decent quality coming in here. I don't necessarily expect like a massive turnaround, but I think with, Seth Dagey in charge of the offense there, and maybe a more established vision, you could see a team show some pretty significant improvement from last year to this year. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about all of these transfers that we got coming in right after the break here on PHNX or AZ Wildcats.
All right, if you are anything like me, you love some cannabis in your life. Let me tell you that much, right? And if you're a diehard, you know me and Eric both love some cannabis because we smoke with our friends over at Colt Cannabis, right? Now, special deal day here. Now you can get Colt Cannabis. Our friends at Colt Cannabis are now in True Leaf locations with a huge variety of their most premium flower. And it's Thursday, and you know what that means. Like I just said, we got some special deals for you. 2 of the Colt jars for just $70. You hear that? $35 an eighth for $70. That's a deal. That is a deal, folks. I know a lot of other companies, like I said, I bought a lot of weed. A lot of other companies, they try to tax you the higher quality you go. Colt does not do that, right? Colt's going to give you good prices all the way through. 2 of the Colt jars for $70. What a deal. We love Colt Cannabis and we love True Leaf as well. Go over to trueleaf.com and find your local dispensary and get these Colt jars before they run out. Also, make sure you check out the new True Leaf location in Maricopa on January 11th is when that's going to have its grand opening. So like I said, get over to trueleaf.com to find your local shop and place an order and tell them PHNX sent you or I sent you.
Yeah, and then, of course, I would say maybe don't smoke your Colt because it's that potent before you go to the Fiesta Bowl because you want to watch that Fiesta Bowl and you want to enjoy yourself watching perhaps the most exciting player in all of college football in Ashton Jeanty with the number 3 Boise State Broncos taking on the number 6 Penn State Nittany Lions. Is it going to be a blowout? Is it going to be a solid game?
No, because Jeanty's going to run all over him. He's mad. He's angry. He's upset.
Mad about not winning the Heisman.
Kid in the last ever to not win it. Higher rated than the actual winners. But continue. I digress.
Last time Boise State was in the old Fiesta Bowl, didn't go so hot for us, us Wildcats. I was there in 2014, but this time we don't have to hate on Boise State if we don't want to. We could root for them. Mountain West team going up against a Big Ten team in Penn State, and that's going to be on New Year's Eve, of course, as a New Year's Six Bowl at 5:30 p.m. here. At State Farm Stadium in Glendale. So grab some tickets for that. Go to the Fiesta Bowl. It's always a great game. So we love our friends over at the Fiesta Bowl, staple of the Valley, staple of the Arizona community. And it's gonna be an absolute pleasure to go watch and view that game.
And honestly, Damon, what's the holiday season without a little fiesta? You know what I mean?
No, I mean
that's a little get together, a little
New
party.
Year's Six Bowls is that's the epitome of we're going into the new year. I would still think it's 2024 if they didn't play a Fiesta Bowl and a Rose Bowl and stuff. So
that's funny. That's good. That's good. But yeah, go ahead.
We teased it a little bit beforehand. We're gonna do a tier maker of the transfer commits that have come over to Arizona and have found their way in Tucson already. Let's see. What did we come to the conclusion of? There was 13 of them.
Yeah, I think there was maybe 15.
7, 8,
yeah, this is great.
9,
this is
10,
great video.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
15.
We got 15 commits in, 3 guys that decided to return. And of course, we have our little tier maker made.
Boom.
by the great Shane Diefenbach.
Boom.
So
the dynamic Diefenbach, if you will.
Absolutely. Kevin, do you want to grab a name to start off?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to break it down. So our categories, we got star, starter, contributor, depth, and boom or bust. And also there is a random D category there at the bottom. We'll just leave that be. But pretty much our star category this is a player that's going to make an impact day one. You're going to know when they hit the field. Starter is someone obviously that's going to start for next year's team. Depth, we might not see them in the starting lineup, but they will be, contributing. And then boomer bust, we created a category called boomer bust because some of these players you don't really know. They could become a star or a starter, but they could also be depth or maybe not even play at all. And so, those are our categories, and we're going to go ahead and get started here. Let's go ahead and start with probably the most impactful guy, just on paper. Let's go Luke Wysong. Arizona fans know him from the game this year where he absolutely balled out against us versus New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
8
catches, 129 yards, and a touchdown in that game. His lone touchdown on the season. But on the year for New Mexico, 69 catches, 840 yards. He was their leading receiver by a long shot, and he was in a offense that was a heavy run offense with Devin Dampier, who's going to be Utah's quarterback next year, and as well as I'm forgetting his name, Eli.
Sanders?
Yeah, Eli Sanders from Chandler, who he committed to USC. So they had a heavy run offense. They had a couple, their main runners, their main catalysts of that offense were running players. They ran like an option system, and Luke Wysong still managed to get 840 yards out of it. So I think, you got to expect big things out of Luke Wysong.
Yeah, I agree. I think like a lot of Arizona fans watching last year's game thought to themselves, man, he's in New Mexico? Like, he's he's a really good player. I'm not saying that quality players don't play at New Mexico, but I think you get my point with that, right? Like, he was cooking. He's a good route runner. I'm not saying that, because of obvious reasons, but he actually is quality at his position. I think it's fair to put him in the star category. I think based on losing T-Mac, the receiver room isn't a pile of gold. I'll say that much. I think he is going to stand out day one. I think so.
Yeah, I kind of was in between that star and starter place. I think if there was a category in the middle there, that might be where Luke Wysong would fall, because I don't necessarily know that he's a star. I mean, he had one touchdown in his first season, or in his last season, I should say. So I think he's a big time player for this team and a big time commit. But I'm not certain that he's going to be the type of star type player just because of his build, moving up in conferences.
Yeah, I was actually getting a similar thought.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's not the biggest guy. The Mountain West is obviously going to be a step below what the Big 12 is. And I think, you can see those type of contributors step up when they move conferences, but also there's always the chance that, it doesn't happen as well as maybe you would expect it to.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Luke Wysong is somebody that, I'm really excited about watching next season, and should be probably the team's, as of right now, should be the team's leading receiver going into next year. I think that's what pushes him into that star category.
That was my thought process on it. I think like it's all relative, right? Like he's not a star, respectfully. He's not a star like on Ohio State day one, but like our receiver room is not that of an Ohio State.
No.
And so I think he is a star in Tucson. I think he could be a star in Tucson. If we're talking about proven and unproven factors, he's played a Big 12 school and balled out against a Big 12 school. Hey, Arizona. He had, in that game, he had 8 receptions, 129 yards, and a touchdown.
And that's a good indicator of success against some of the bigger teams that they might play.
Yeah. He also balled out against Utah State this year. He had 10 receptions for 156 yards, and then probably his third best game. Arguably his second best game was against Fresno State, where he had 10 receptions for 126 yards. So he can rack them up if you get him the opportunities. And I think with Deji behind the play sheet, I think he's going to have a lot more opportunities to actually get utilized in this offense. Yeah, I think we had a lot of players last year get underutilized.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's going to run an air raid system, and that's going to lead to a lot of opportunity for these guys. I also think that having Noah Fafita not with T-Mac, as weird as that is, like I think that somewhat could benefit this team in terms of feeding a lot of mouths, getting a lot of people involved, and Noah more so reading a defense rather than being F it, T-Mac's down there somewhere.
Yeah.
Not that he did that all the time, but I think that there are times where we could see that he kind of zoned in on T-Mac, rightfully so. He's arguably the best player in all of college football last year. Like it's
certainly the best receiver. Biletnikoff voters.
Yeah.
I'm looking directly at you. But yeah, I agree. I think not only is the F at T-Mac element down there somewhere there, I think most importantly, he's dropping back, not knowing who he's going to get the ball to. Yeah. I mean, obviously you have your hot route, you have your guy on the play that you're supposed to go to, but every play, it's my first read and my second read is T-Mac, and then who's my third read? And I think this allows him to free himself up. It allows him to be more of a traditional quarterback in a sense. And yeah, I think again, it all comes back to JG and his vision. But if he has like a good balanced like play call diet, I think it's going to take a lot of stress off of Noah Fifita in that offense. Because I think, again, if we utilize these players correctly, I think they could really come through.
Yeah, I definitely think that could help improve this offense, even in a weird, kind of backwards kind of way there. Right, yeah. But yeah, let's move on to our next player here. We have, I believe, Chancellor Owens transfer in from Northwestern State, and he is a freshman last year. So he'll be a sophomore next year. 6'3", 260 pounds, 4 sacks for Northwestern State last year. He's a Texas guy. How do you feel about Chancellor Owens, Kevin?
I feel so. I'm gonna talk. I'm telling you right now. I'm gonna bring this up a lot throughout this segment because 6'3", 260, right? Like a lot of Arizona's players last year that we had problems with were smaller players, undersized for their position, so to speak. You're not really small at 6'1", but undersized for your position. As a redshirt freshman, raw talent, he had a career high 8 tackles this season in September against East Texas A&M. I just think you cast a wide net right now if you're Arizona, and see what kind of fish you can catch, because a 6'3", 260 redshirt freshman who's entering probably the best years of his career in college, you want that guy if you're Brent Brennan and the staff and you've done your due diligence on him and you want to bring him in. I think you can't lose with a Chancellor Owens coming in. I don't think it's a bad thing. Now, is he a star? Probably not. Where would you put Chancellor Owens?
I would put him probably in I want to say maybe the contributor category. I think he is a young player. There's a lot of eligibility left for a guy like that. I'm kind of looking at his offers that he put down on his Twitter. These are just his announced offers, but UTEP, Western Kentucky, UAB, Texas State, Jacksonville State, Eastern Michigan, Nevada, FAU, Toledo. So, I mean, UMass, it's not the greatest list of teams, not necessarily Arizona caliber of teams, but, they obviously saw something in him and thought that he could be a type of player that could develop into, you'd have to think that he's a contributor.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like I said, just based on physicality alone, day one, he's going to come in and be able to compete with the guys on this team. And I think that it depends on what the spring looks like and things like that, like what practice and everything looks like. But I think day one, he can contribute to this roster just based on physicality and the fact that he's raw, like alone.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move on to Michael Dansby. He's a cornerback out of San Jose State. And obviously I think that's going to raise some people's eyebrows when it comes to, us bringing in San Jose State players, just given how a lot of them performed last season on our team. And just how in general the kind of the vibe around the program is, people thinking that we're turning ourselves into San Jose State. But Michael Dansby was, he played a lot for San Jose State last year. He had 37 total tackles, 2 picks, 2 pass breakups. I know his PFF grade was somewhere in the 70s, which is considered a good starter. So PFF isn't everything, but it is just another tool. They're watching more San Jose State games than me and you are. So
it's added context.
Yeah,
if you don't know enough about the team or the players they're playing against.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say as of right now, you look at Arizona's cornerback room, right? And you have another commit here who we're going to talk about next in Javion Cole, but then you have Michael Dansby and Treydan Stukes to play that slot star role that they have on defense. And then,
Genesis Smith coming back to play
MGK.
Back in the backfield somewhere. Yeah, MGK.
So
Davis is still a question mark. We don't know if he's going to go to the draft or transfer.
And that's kind of where I'm at with this. I think Davis is kind of going to be the barometer for where Michael Dansby ends up on this team. If Takari Davis somehow decides he wants to come back to Arizona next year, that obviously I think that'll push Dansby down on the depth chart. Davis will start if he comes back. I'm sure he'll be promised that he's the starter if he comes back. But Dansby's played a lot of ball, and he's played 3 seasons of college football, played in every season. He's going to be a senior. I think he is going to be a starter for me.
Do we have a special guest in the chat? Is this facts? Is that the Ben Wysong? As in, like, is this a relative of Luke? He said he used the first name. He said, "Can't wait to see Luke in that Wildcat uni. This offense is going to be a problem for defenses, with Daggy as the OC." That's pretty cool. We got Ben Wysong in the chat. Shout out Uncle Wysong.
I believe it's Uncle Ben Wysong. His father's Adam, but we appreciate you, Uncle Ben, for watching the show. And we're really excited to watch Luke next year.
Yeah, he's a really exciting player. And I decided to give a shout out. I saw that in the chat, and I had to cut you off. I was
that's worth it.
You got a VIP in the chat.
When Uncle Ben's in the chat, you got
wait. Do you cook any special dishes, maybe involving grains? I'm not going to get
I thought you were going to make a Spider-Man joke.
Me too.
No.
That's where I thought we were going, Shane.
No, I'm a hungry dude, all right? And I want to know if he can cook, because there's a certain no free ads, Max, shout out, welcome. There's a certain grain brand that shares a name with him. And so I'm curious. But yeah, get back to us on that. We're going to get back to our tier list.
I was just going to say, I think Michael Dansby is a starter for me. As of right now, I think you kind of pencil him into that starting spot. He could get beaten out for MGK if MGK comes into camp and proves that he deserves to be the starter. But I think Michael Dansby is going to be a guy that's probably going to be starting for this team next year.
Yeah, I agree. I think again, Damon Brent mentioned it, brought it up, but the Takayo Davis of it all is kind of the elephant in the room. I think, they're kind of waiting for the shoe to drop, so to speak, with those, because if, like he said, Davis comes back, Dansby has a new role, right? But just talking about who this player is, he had some of his best games against some of the team's best opponents, right? So he had 3 tackles, 3.5 tackles in their loss against number 23 UNLV, and we all know that go-go offense was a hot topic this year. So to perform well against that is a big deal. And then he had 4 tackles and a PBU against Boise State. Yep. So if he can play against ranked teams and not be a liability for sure. And so I do agree with the starter ranking for this Michael Dansby.
Yeah, I'd say, it's definitely one of the some of the better teams that Michael Dansby performed against this season. And speaking of Michael Dansby, a guy that Michael Dansby is familiar with is Javion Cole, who started his career at Cal Poly, I believe we came to realize. But he doesn't have any stats listed for Cal Poly, but he then went to San Jose State, was, I believe, a second team all Mountain West in his lone season at San Jose State, was a PFF first teamer as well in that season. Played 4 games only for Texas this past season, has 4 career interceptions, but he was a big time player at San Jose State. That's the reason he went to Texas. This was a guy that Arizona was interested in trying to get in Tucson when he entered the transfer portal last year. I'd say, honestly, the biggest kind of realization that Brent Brennan and his staff maybe were not the level that we needed them to be was when San Jose State's best players were going to other places or staying at San Jose State.
Facts.
So we had Nick Nash, who led the country in receiving this year.
The real bullet in the cough winner.
Whoa!
Yeah. He led the country in everything.
He had a better argument than Hunter for sure. I'm not going to debate you on that. That's facts.
I don't want to get off in this tangent,
I'm just kidding.
But I think eye test wise, it's got to be T-Mac. Stats wise, it's got to be Nick Nash. 0 wise, it's got to be Travis Hunter. That's my quick argument.
That's the Twitter follower vote right there.
Yeah, but back to our guy Javion Cole here. He was somebody that entered the transfer portal and obviously went to a really good Texas team over Arizona. I mean, obviously Texas has a lot more to sell than Arizona, but you're still, you have a previous relationship with these San Jose State guys. If you're not able to get a Nick Nash, not able to get a Javion Cole, that is concerning. In fairness, Javion Cole then enters the transfer portal, didn't have a great season at Texas, but he comes straight back to Arizona. This staff able to get him the second time around.
Yeah, and I think, I agree with you because we've talked about this specific point all season. Like, I think it was like week 5 that you and I were like, Nick Nash, why is he not in a U of A? That's weird.
I mean, it just made too much sense. You have Jacob Cowing. You have a lot of yards, that are on the table for somebody opposite T-Mac, and you weren't really able to get anybody in place to fill that role.
But by the other side of that same coin, right? If you're Nick Nash, right, and you stay, and then you win the Triple Crown, maybe there was something with the OC that he liked specifically, or the wide receiver coach that he meshed with specifically that Brennan was not bringing with him for whatever reason, right? And so I think maybe if you're Javion Cole, you go to Texas, you try it out, it doesn't work for you, maybe you come back home to Brent Brennan and say, hey, like I tried going out on my own. Like I think this is the best spot for me at Arizona.
Yeah, absolutely. We love you too, Johnny. And
nice profile picture.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I would say Javion Cole belongs in the star category. I don't know about you. I think he's a step above Michael Dansby. I think if Michael Dansby's in the starter category, Javion Cole is the CB1 going into next year, and you need him to be a star for this team.
I agree. I totally agree. I like that. I like that placement
or behind Wysong?
Behind.
Yeah, behind.
Because Wysong's the GOAT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Clearly.
He's going to be the best receiver.
Yeah,
in the Big
cool
12.
tattoos too.
Yeah, for sure.
That's not relevant, but yeah.
You want to start introing this next guy?
Yeah. So our next guy is going to be Jason Frausto Ramos. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that completely correctly, but that's my best shot at it.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, Jason. I like Jason because Jason has built his own gaming computer. That's the only analysis you need to know. He's a gamer. He's a geek, and we love it. But no, jokes aside, I like him because he's young. He's 6 foot tall. He has some speed to him. He appeared in all 12 games as a true freshman, made 4 starts. I think you got to start there. This is a guy who day one at Stanford was ready to play. Not like Stanford is one of the top teams in the nation, but if you're able to walk into a program as a freshman anywhere and produce
a power program,
yes, and produce, then that's impressive. He's played special teams. He had 18 tackles. Not 18 tackles. My bad. but yeah, Jason Frausto Ramos, corner. I mean, I think. Starter?
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at with him. He was a guy that Dwayne Aquina recruited to Stanford, so there's a previous relationship there with Dwayne Aquina. Probably a big reason that he came to Arizona. And after he committed, he posted a great video on Twitter of Chuck Cecil grabbing a dude's helmet from this season.
I remember that.
And splitting his head open, smacking his head into the dude's helmet. Yeah. So clearly he's shown some love to Chuck Cecil there, which you love to see. And I think he's just the type of guy that, yeah, I mean, he's going to come in to start. He was a really high 4-star recruit out of high school. We came pretty close to getting him in his original recruitment out of high school. So he probably already had been on campus before and knew the vibe of the program and whatnot. And yeah, I expect him to kind of be in that kind of starter category as of now. And again, I think Tacario Davis is somebody that could really throw a wrench into the cornerback part of these things. Yeah. And I think Frausto Ramos is going to be maybe more of an inside guy, like a star in the nickel corner role like Treydan Stukes. But I do think he's going to log a lot of snaps and be considered like a starter caliber player. Yeah, and some more context on that. There is some more connection as to why he chose Arizona over some other places. We're going to get to some names like Chris Hudson, but both of these guys both went to St. John Bosco in California. One of like, I think, a handful of guys on this team that have been to that school. So there are some connections that Jason already has with this program, and I'm sure he's excited to get in here with his old high school buddies. Yeah, absolutely. We still have a lot of names to go through, but I think first we should talk through some of these ads. That was a good little homage to Mike Luke there.
That was great.
So,
yeah, I mean, do I bring it back? I think I'm going to bring it back. If Erica Day's in the chat, we're talking about Neutral.
Damn right.
Keep it tasty, Tucson. This is a public service announcement for all hard seltzer lovers. Neutral vodka seltzer has arrived. Made with simple ingredients like vodka, seltzer, and real juice. Neutral tastes good, like real good. And so good that you'll never want to drink another artificial tasting seltzer ever again. Those other ones that were fads in the past, you don't want those. You want a Neutral, right? They have a variety of flavors, including pineapple, watermelon, black cherry, orange, and more. Nothing goes better than college football and a Neutral vodka seltzer. If you're going to the Fiesta Bowl,
they guarantee they have Neutrals in the stadium.
Go get you a Neutral. And if they don't, leave. You already bought your ticket.
No.
Yeah,
you already bought your ticket. You supported the Fiesta Bowl. If they don't sell Neutral, you are
maybe tailgate Kevin, with some Neutrals.
No. You stay and you watch the game and you support the game and the players.
All right. Well, if they don't support Neutral, we'll still support them.
Yes.
But we would like them to add Neutral to the stadium. Yes, please stay at the game.
Maybe
but
consider
politely asking.
Yes.
Hey,
suggesting.
I like neutral, like millions of other Americans. Could you guys maybe get neutral here? Point is, anyway, keep it tasty, Tucson. Enjoy responsibly. 2024 Anheuser-Busch neutral flavored vodka and carbonation, St. Louis, Missouri.
And of course, we talked about our Fiesta Bowl already. Let's go talk about the Fiesta Bowl parade. It's the 53rd annual Verbo Fiesta Bowl parade. And of course, it is a parade that is ingrained inside of the Valley. It's a new era in the Valley of the Sun. We merge tradition and history with innovation, pageantry, and a fun 53rd annual Verbo Fiesta Bowl parade presented by Lerner and Rowe. It's going to be free to the public, family friendly. Maybe grab yourself a neutral, tailgate the parade.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely where you can find a neutral.
Pop up a lawn chair,
sure. Yes.
Get yourself some neutrals at our friends at Circle K, and just start ripping them as you watch the Fiesta Bowl parade. You'll see a big name, big play Grand Marshal. And of course, you might see our coworker, Derek Montilla, who has been known to walk in the Fiesta Bowl parade or even drive because he's kind of a big deal like that. He's the mayor and all. So yeah, make sure you guys are joining the Fiesta Bowl parade in person on Saturday, December 28th at 10 a.m. or watch it all happen on AZ Family 3 TV. Our partners over there. For the parade route and more information, check fiestabowl.org/parade.
Sweet.
Let's get back into our tier maker here. And next name we're going to talk about is Chris Hudson, wide receiver from Washington State. Hudson had a pretty good season last year, 54 catches, 683 yards and 2 touchdowns. One more touchdown than Wysong did, about 200 less yards roughly. What do you expect from Chris Hudson going into next season?
You know, I actually like Chris Hudson. I was watching some Chris Hudson film yesterday on the couch, post gifs and things, and I noticed a couple things. Right, he's not the fastest guy in the country, but he's quick. Like if you let him get open in space, he'll burn you. He makes catches through contact, so on underneath routes like slants, drags. If the ball makes contact with his hands and he's getting dragged down, that ball is coming with him. He is keeping that ball. He makes good catches through contact. Like I said, he's great underneath some short routes. Played 4 seasons at Oregon, so he has that experience at a big power program. But he's never had a season with 3 or more touchdowns. Just for context, so like you're not getting someone that played at Oregon and put up big prolific numbers. But I think he's one of those talents where, like I said with Wysong, if you can utilize him, he can really be noticeable out there. I don't know. For my personal thoughts, I think I'm torn because like I said,
who do you think the starting receivers are on paper?
Oof.
If I guess that's where we'll go with this, because I think Wysong is obviously going to start. I think Chris Hunter is a starter, and after that, I would say Chris Hudson is probably my next guy there.
Yeah, let's put him in the starter category, and that's my opinion. I don't know.
He had a good season last year at Washington State, 683 yards.
His best year. He
was a high 4-star recruit out of high school. I think Chris Hudson is going to be a pretty big time contributor for this team, especially with this air raid offense. Why don't you put him in the front of that? Put Frosto Ramos in front of Dansby as well, if we're ordering it truly. That's how I feel personally. But I think Chris Hudson's going to be a big piece for this team, and another, just yet another target for Noah Fafita in this offense. Somebody that is I feel like maybe we're losing some of the ceiling players of this team, right? Some of the guys that put this team to the next level, that make them like stars that can really elevate your squad. But what we can really improve upon this year is the bottom line of this roster. Last season you had T-Mac at receiver, and then you had Chris Hunter, who had emerged and was a non-scholarship player who had to prove himself and earn playing time, and you started to feel pretty good about him at the end of the year. But going into the season, most people didn't even really know who Chris Hunter was. You were looking at Malachi Riley and Jeremiah Patterson to be guys that stepped up, and both of those guys were pretty underwhelming last year. So I think you're looking at the floor of this receiver room being raised pretty much no matter what, even if they don't even get another guy. But I think they do need one more guy. But I do like Chris Hudson as kind of in that starter role. Yeah,
and I think your comment that you just made actually goes hand in hand with Kobe's, who said to sum up over receiving gets, I think we have a lot of number 2s and no number 1s. I'm cool with like 3 or 4 number 2s, but I'd love a dominant lead receiver too. But I think like last year we had the dominant lead receiver, obviously in T-Mac, right? But that raises your ceiling to a certain level, right? Yeah. We had no idea how low the floor was at the time. We had no idea. And I think what this staff is doing is raising that floor, saying, hey, at a minimum, these guys are all good. Like they're all decent players, right?
Yeah.
So if you might not have that T-Mac, but Brennan, when he joined our show like a month or two ago at this point, he spoke about it. He was like, hey, yeah, we don't have T-Mac, and that's a lot of contribution, but you can fulfill that contribution through committee, right? It might take 3 receivers to make 1 T-Mac, but you can fulfill his stats without having his incredible generational talent.
Absolutely. I'm with you there. I like.
So yeah, ideally you'd want to have a number 1, but if you can have 4 number 2s, that's pretty good too. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's exactly where we're at with this receiver room, and I think that's kind of where we have to be moving forward. Let's move on to this next guy. We got Ty Buchanan from Texas Tech. Ty Buchanan is a tackle. He played 11 games last year, started in 7 of them. 4 starts at left tackle, 3 starts at right tackle. This is going to be a completely brand new offensive line room.
Yes.
Yes, but also, you lose a guy like Wendell Moy to Tennessee, and he had a bad year this year, but Tennessee's not taking him if he's a bad player. Everyone knows he's a good player. His offer list was unbelievable. You lose Jonas Avenea, you lose Josh Baker, a 5th-year center. Like, while maybe it's like rejoice to the heavens that this offensive line isn't going to be the same as it was last year because it was so bad. Felt like we had some pretty good players in place last year, and Oglesby, the offensive line coach, really underperformed with what he was given. We'll see what goes into next year, but it's going to be a brand new group. And like I said, Ty Buchanan, I think he's a guy who probably starts at one of those tackle spots for you.
Yeah, and for context, I was actually rejoicing because of the size of Ty Buchanan, right? Like I think I again brought it up earlier, but 6'6", 310. That's a big boy. Like Arizona needed to bulk up this offseason. I think we all agree with that. And this is another huge step in that direction. He's a sophomore, and yeah, you want guys that are coachable. You don't want guys that are coming in necessarily as made entities already, especially with the place the program is in. You want to make sure, like I said, you're progressing towards winning. And I think bulking up, and yes, we do lose Moy and we do lose Savanea, but Savanea was always going to go to the draft. And I think if we had performed better, maybe utilize Moy better, we keep Moy.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think you are rebuilding this line, but I think that bulking it up is a good place to start with guys that have played at major programs like Texas Tech, and we'll get to Mr. Tristan Bounds later.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he'll be a senior next year. And that leaves him with 1 year of eligibility. But I just think that this is a guy that clearly he came to this program to start. He was a starter at Texas Tech. I don't think Texas Tech fans thought he was like phenomenal by any stretch of the imagination. I think they thought he was like serviceable at times, but with a brand new offensive line and his experience, I expect him to be a starter.
That's a good point too from Tom Mix. Texas Tech has loaded up in the transfer. We were just talking about that pre-show.
Number 1 transfer portal class on 247 right now.
Yeah, so that's good context as well. Like it's not just some guy leaving because greener pastures. He's leaving because I can play. I need time to play somewhere, and I think Arizona can be that spot for him. Yeah. I like the starter spot for Ty Buchanan as well.
For sure. So we'll have Ty Buchanan as a starter, and then we'll move on to the next guy here. Put him in the last one. It's Jordan Brown from Georgia Tech. He's a guy who started his career at Charlotte. I don't have a ton of information on Jordan Brown. He's a big guy. He's got a lot of size to him. He had some pretty decent offers out of Charlotte. As I was talking to you before the show, he had a Missouri offer.
Big SEC offers.
Yeah, he had another SEC offer. I'm forgetting which team that was, but Jordan Brown is an interesting case. I think he's somebody that I don't know. He like his size and his offer list when he transferred out of Charlotte and stuff would go to show that maybe people think he should be a contributor. Personally, without much experience actually playing, I'm gonna go depth for Jordan Brown. I don't know where you have him.
I agree. I think depth is a good spot for him. He's just unproven, right? Like we don't know. He's not in the boom or bust category because we haven't seen him boom yet. You know, like we haven't seen him at a smaller school do huge numbers. And so I do think that the depth category is a good spot for him. Just not a lot of information on Jordan Brown, not a lot of tape on Jordan Brown yet at a high level.
6'5", 315 pounds. I mean, he like I said, he's got the size. He played left tackle a little bit, I think at Georgia Tech last year in some of their lower games. But yeah, I think he's kind of a depth piece at this point, and we'll see what we can get from him. On the next one, I think we have some more to talk about real quick after this break. All right, so we were talking about bowl season. It's a beautiful time of year, and that
also means the Guaranteed Rate Bowl is coming to town. Rate Bowl, just the Rate Bowl is coming to town. So we got December 26th, the ultimate pregame celebration awaits. Bring the whole family and enjoy downtown Phoenix, because downtown Phoenix is popping, y'all. Let me tell you that much. Kick off game day in style with the free Rate Bowl pregame party outside of Chase Field. No Diamondbacks this postseason, but we do get the Rate Bowl at Chase Field. Thursday, December 26th, starting at 11 a.m., 4th Street, just outside of Chase Field is where you need to be at. Be there, be square, and bring your energy and enjoy. This is not just a game, it's a celebration of community, passion, and most importantly, Arizona pride, y'all. Like, I mean, we do have Wildcats in the game.
Sure.
Did we take those?
I don't know, but I did see something that Gunnar Maldonado is a triple Wildcat. And that's pretty special.
That's rare. That's real rare. It's like scoregami, but for transfers. There's going to be live music, exciting games, delicious food trucks, and it's a new day. Well, it was a new day. You're going to be able to get to meet WWE superstar Big E, as well as the live marching band performances and so much more. So go get your tickets at ratebowl.com. Game tickets, premium experiences, and reserved parking are all available. Go get yours now at ratebowl.com.
Gunnar will probably be on the sideline for that game. Maybe Max Melton on the Cardinals.
No
but
Kofi.
Of course, it's time to talk about our friends over at Branded Bills, one of our favorite partners. Kevin's got a Branded Bills hat on. I've got a Branded Bills hat on. You got the U of A collection. I got this Phoenix hat that you could find at our locker. And yeah, I mean, Branded Bills, do they make a more comfortable hat in the world?
No, like the first thing when Max got us this hat, the first thing I said was, this is the most comfortable hat I've ever worn.
It genuinely is. It's so comfortable. You go to, I'll tell you what, I go to McHale, I go to Arizona Stadium. I see Branded Bills hats all over the place. I mean, it is by far the most popular hat. You want to get in on that. And you want to buy yourself a nice new Branded Bills hat with code PHNX to save 20% off your first order. Elevate your brand with Branded Bills, perfect headwear and apparel. And of course, they have all these college collections. They got all these hats behind us. They got the Bear Down. They got the State. I mean, it's just, they have a million different variations. Best hat to have as an Arizona Wildcat fan. Head to brandedbills.com. Use code PHNX for 20% off your first order. All right, let's hop back into our tier maker. And we're going to talk about a guy. Let's see here.
We got Deshaun McKnight coming up next. Yes.
21 total tackles, 5.5 TFLs, 4 sacks for Deshaun McKnight last year. How do we feel about him, Kevin?
Honestly, Deshaun McKnight, it kind of, for me, it falls into that Jordan Brown category of like, there isn't much to write home about with Deshaun McKnight, and that's no offense to Deshaun McKnight. That's just, he hasn't been really given the shot to produce, big numbers. I don't know. I think he could fall into the contributor category, but I think just based off of like what his production has been, 3-star coming out of high school, I think he probably falls into the depth category with the potential to move into the contributor. What do you think?
Yeah, I think to me, I think this is another guy where it's like we have a rebuilt defensive line room, and I think
that's a good point.
To me, I think he's going to be a contributor. He's an experienced player in terms of his time in college. I think if he was truly going somewhere where he wasn't going to play, he would have gone to a smaller school than Arizona, in my opinion. Guy started at App State, played there a little bit, had a decent season last year at UT Martin. So I think he's a contributor. I think that's why they brought him in, but I don't really expect him to be like flashing off the screen at you.
6'3", 285 for those in the airport doing the airport test.
Next guy is someone I think that all of us should be really, really excited about.
Well, you want to talk about pipelines.
Yeah. Tucson to Texas to
Texas
Tucson.
to Tucson is now a real thing. Let's talk about it. Let's really talk about it. Ismail Mahdi, welcome. You are now a Wildcat. Texas State transfer, almost put up 1,000 yards this season, has some really impressive highlights. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to say it. I think he's going to be in the star category here.
Yeah, I think this is easy star. I think we probably put him in the first spot. I don't know about you, Kevin, but I think he's that dynamic of a player. And he's probably going to be, one of the major focal points of this offense next season. When I think last year you look at our running back room and you had a guy like Quali Conley who you brought in to maybe be the second string guy, and he's a good player, but he wasn't really he isn't like an impact player at a power 4 level like he maybe was at San Jose State. And now Krosky Merritt was sitting on the sideline in street clothes. You know what I mean? And that's the guy that you wanted to be the star of this running back room, and it just didn't play out the way that we needed it to. So I think that's where Ismail Mahdi comes in, and that's where he's that guy that Krosky Merritt was supposed to be last year.
Yeah, and
slightly different builds, but just in terms of the role that they'll play.
1000%. And you brought up Seth Deji. I think that's really important in all of this because yes, it's called an air raid, but what he did last year at Marshall was
very
all
balanced.
Based off the run.
Yeah.
It was all based off of what you can do in the run game to open up your pass, which is, I know, football 101, but that's literally what he bases his offense out of. And so I think you're going to see hopefully you're going to see a much more balanced Arizona offense this year. And I think Mahdi's going to be the focal point of that. I think, you bulk up offensive line, you get an elusive running back with a lot of skill and a lot of pedigree. I think he's going to be a star. I think he's going to be day one impact. You're going to know he's out there.
Yeah, for sure. And into this next guy, I think this is maybe the most interesting player we have on this list, at least in my opinion. It's Blake Gotcher, another guy from was it Northwestern State?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Literally
one of the best linebackers in the country at that level of football.
Yeah, but that's our second player from Northwestern State. That was all I was getting at there. The Chancellor Owens also from Northwestern State, and they were tweeting at each other a little bit. But Blake Gotcher, yeah, he was a huge contributor for them last year. He was a semifinalist for the Buchanan Award, which is given to the best defensive player at the FCS level. He racked up 162 total tackles, 10 TFLs, 4.5 sacks. It's the type of player that you needed on this roster to replace Jacob Manu, who's obviously going to Washington. And it hurts. But Blake Gotcher is someone that I think could either be a potential star type player if it translates to this next level, or someone that I think could really be out of his depth out there at middle linebacker if things maybe don't translate from an athleticism standpoint.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. He is a boomer bust to the core, if you will. The potential for what he is he steps in and he is in that star category of like 3 weeks in, we're like, wow, I can't believe this guy is really replacing Manu so quickly. And it did translate. Yeah. And he is like making great plays out there on defense. But yeah, it could also go the other way where he takes a step up in competition and it's just not the same. And so, yeah, I agree. Boomer bust for Blake Gotcher, but we are very happy we have Blake Gotcher because the perspective and the potential is huge and very exciting.
Yes, absolutely. And kind of similar with this next guy, I'd argue. Tristan Bounds.
Agreed.
6'8", 305-pound offensive lineman coming from Michigan. And of course, whenever you have somebody that comes from a high profile team like Michigan, you expect them maybe in a step down in competition to kind of shine. So I that's the hope with Tristan Bounds. He hasn't played a whole lot at Michigan in his time there. He was a high 3-star prospect coming out of high school, and as a sophomore and freshman, he played a little bit on the offensive line. But in his junior and senior seasons at Michigan, he only played on special teams. So another guy who I think, if it all works out, he's a Michigan player. He played against some really good defensive linemen in practice over the years. He's huge. Who knows?
6'8",
who knows what you're getting out of this guy?
Sheesh.
Genuinely, who knows what you're getting out of this guy? He could be horrible. He could be really good. I don't know. But, Tristan Bounds seems like a big-time transfer get for this program. Anytime you get a player from like a Michigan or an Alabama or something, it's massive.
Yeah, I like I said earlier, cast a wide net if you're Arizona this offseason because you need talent and you need guys that could boom or bust like a Tristan Bounds.
That's a good point.
Like if he comes down from Michigan and it's business as usual, like riding a bike, then it's going to look awesome. And he's going to be a huge boost to this offensive line that just took 2 hits, like we were just talking about, losing Savanea and Moy. So yeah, I think boomer bust for Tristan Bounds. And let's hope that he booms for real because we need the 6'8" man in the middle to do his thing. So
next guy is Kaina DeCombra. I think I'm saying that right.
We were talking about it. I've been saying Kaena.
I think it's Ina. I did a quick pronunciation test beforehand, but it could still be wrong there. But he was a big time player at Hawaii last year. He was pretty much Hawaii's best offensive lineman. Started 11 games, 9 at right guard, 2 at right tackle, and he's graded out really well on PFF. A guy that I think you expect to be at least a contributor on this team.
I agree. I think he falls into the contributor category. I think based off the fact that he's a vet, like he's played. He played in all 13 games. Like he started 11, but he played in all 13. I think this is a guy who, like we said, you cast a wide net with the offensive line and see what you get back because I think he could play. He could be a starter. But you know, when you're stepping from Hawaii to Arizona, there's a little bit of like Hawaii's not you know that far from us, but we're a step up.
I'm ready. I know I said
12.
contributor as part of my little spiel, but I'm ready to put him in the starter category because
Okay.
he started a lot at Hawaii. We're going to have probably 5 new offensive linemen starting on this line. You need to find those numbers somewhere, and we already have Ty Buchanan in there. I think he's another guy that I'm willing to pencil into a starting line.
Especially if we have Buchanan in the starter, we should probably have him as well in there as well. Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's where I'm at with Kaina DeCambra. I think he could be a really good player.
Ooh.
And this is an interesting guy.
Who is that,
guy.
Damon? Who is that?
Tre Spivey, of course, son of Arizona Diamondbacks legend, Junior Spivey, legend because he won a World Series ring with this team. And he's from Arizona. He went to Hamilton. He's really good friends with Genesis Smith, who, of course, we're going to talk about in a second here. But I think Tre Spivey, I mean, he was a big player coming out of high school. I think Arizona, similar to Javion Cole, Arizona came in second probably in his high school recruitment. It was kind of a battle there, and he was a pretty high ranked 3-star, intriguing player, 6'4", 217, athletic family genes. I think you really, this is the type of player that Arizona needs to hit on if they want to improve their roster from last season to this season.
1,000%. Like you said, 6'4". We're talking the deep threat target. He was not really utilized a lot in the beginning of the season for K-State. Towards the latter end of the year, he started to get more involved. Like Damon mentioned, the 160 yards and 1 touchdown, I don't think really speaks to his true abilities as a receiver. I think that was more of a situation where you come in as a freshman and they're just, how do we use you? Like, what's your best role? And then by the end of the season, he's, clearly one of their best receivers.
Is this one official yet? Is he officially?
Yeah, I believe so. And if it's not, it's kind of an unkept secret. But if you click on his 24/7 profile, it says that he is committed to Arizona.
Yeah, his online profiles, in terms of like the on3 24/7, say he's committed to Arizona. There's some online discussion about it not being as
there has been, but
100% deal. But we'll just say if Tre Spivey is we got a block A on the side of his head next year, I think he could be a star for this offense.
Really,
I do. I really do. At 6'4", like we don't have a lot of. I mean,
I love his profile,
big deep targets. Like, but I said could be. Like, I'm not so certain that day one he is, but I really do think he could be a star for this.
This one's a tough one, I think, because I don't want to say that he's he could like really bust. I think he'll be a contributor, but I do agree with you in the sentiment that he could either be a star or he could be a contributor. Like, I don't think that it's gonna work out like Bounds or Gotcher, where maybe the downside of what they could be is actually kind of not very good.
Yeah,
I think he'll be a decent piece for this program moving forward, but I don't know if he will be a star or not. So that makes this one a tough go for me.
We could compromise and go starter, unless you are in the contributor train.
I just don't think he's a starter yet.
Okay.
I think he's a contributor right now, but he could be a star. So I understand where you're coming from, but do you see what I'm saying?
I do. I totally do. I totally do.
I think this season he's a contributor. He has the potential to reach that star category because of how athletic he is and his profile and whatnot. But I just am not willing to put him in that category yet.
No, I'm totally fine with that, especially like first year in a new offense. And not only is it a new offense, it's a new offense for the program too. So yeah.
You have Chris Hudson and Luke Wysong who have a ton of experience in front of him.
That is true. Yeah. I agree with that. So yeah, our next player we're going to look at
last transfer that will be coming in from a new program.
Yeah, our last new face is going to be Cameron Barmore. So Cameron Barmore,
really
6'6", 230, came from what? Oh, sorry, my
came from Mercyhurst.
Yeah, there it goes. My computer was messing up there, but yeah, came from Mercyhurst. Put up some decent numbers in Mercyhurst, but it's Mercyhurst, so we're gonna figure out if he can play at Arizona. Damon, where do you have him on this tier maker?
This one's an interesting one as well because this guy, he played 28 career games. He had 16 career receptions at Mercyhurst. Really, really good return on that. He's a huge target. This team needs tight ends. They have Sam Olsen at tight end, which is, that's a 4-letter word to Arizona fans. Not everyone's favorite player coming from San Jose State, and we lost Keon Burnett. So they're gonna need help at the tight end position. I know there was some confusion as to whether Barmore played receiver at Mercyhurst, because I believe he did play receiver at Mercyhurst, but they listed him as a tight end on his commitment graphic. The Arizona football team did. He had 978 yards and 13 touchdowns last year at this school. He's got a pretty decently high transfer rating on 247 Sports. I think Barmore could be a contributor to this team. I do.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he could definitely be a contributor. But yeah, if you want to figure out where we're going to put these
next three guys,
returning players, and if you're watching on television, make sure to go join us at gophnx.com. And if you're already watching, just stay here, and we'll wrap it up here. We'll wrap it up.
Yeah, we'll continue this conversation.
But yeah, I think contributor is a good spot for him, because we don't even officially know like where he's gonna play at. Like, obviously he's tight end, but he has that receiver experience. Yeah. So
could also see boomer bust for him for sure. I mean, I think that's a guy where, you know, he's played a little bit, but at a significantly lower level. Is that size going to translate, and that athleticism going to translate to the power 4 level? Who knows? Yeah. I think that's another guy that it'll be interesting to see, because he obviously had an insane season last year at Mercyhurst. I mean, 1,000 yards, 13 touchdowns is crazy.
That's nuts. Yeah, it's nuts.
So for a 6'6" guy,
yeah.
Maybe we move him to boomer bust. You want to move him to boomer bust? I'm kind of leaning that way.
Yeah, let's have some fun. Christian Barmore, welcome to the Boomer Bust Club.
Yeah, for sure. And now that leaves us with our three sweet princes.
Our guys.
That all entered the transfer portal and found their way back here at Arizona. There was 5 reported visits to Washington from Arizona players.
How many went to Washington, Damon?
Two of them. 3 of them came back. The 2 that committed to Washington being Tai Uiagalelei and Jacob Manu. And then the 3 coming back being Genesis Smith, Treydan Stukes, and Dalton Johnson. Which guy do you want to start with here, Kevin?
Let's go ahead and start with Treydan Stukes there on the left. Treydan Stukes obviously last year had his year cut a little bit short there at the end, but I think
it was more the beginning, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, no, it was actually. You're right. But he did have his year cut short last year, and then it came back at the end for the Arizona State game. That's what happened, yeah. Because it was the start of Big 12 play.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think this is. I'm looking at one of those top 2, but I also,
for sure,
you know, I'm leaning more towards starter just because there's a lot of shakeup in the DB room left to be had. But I think off rip, he's for sure minimum starter.
Put him in the first starter spot, Shane. I think that's a good spot for him.
Yeah.
We'll keep him there. I think, he might be a step below a star, but he's a really good college football player that you want on your team. A guy who's been in the program for a while. A guy who wasn't a big time recruit. Arizona took a chance on him. He has, re-shown that faith 2 seasons in a row here, coming back to this program. And I think Treydan Stukes is a big time player for this team. Genesis Smith is probably the biggest time player for this team. I know he's your favorite player.
Yeah, he's probably my favorite player in the whole roster.
But I'm putting him behind Mahdi, I think, as a star. I think that's the cornerstone of this defense. That's the best player on this defense. And you build your defense around Genesis Smith.
Yeah, when I saw he was entering the portal, I mean, Damon knows, I was heartbroken. Like I was so sad. It like he was on this defense, I think the one individual the entire year that game in, game out looked good.
Yeah.
Like I think he's the one guy you could look to every game for Arizona on defense and be like, oh, Genesis, yeah, he gonna show up. I know Genesis is gonna play. And I think that's important, especially with the year that they had last year. The morale was so low. I think just him showing up every week was awesome and massive for this team. And to have him back, to have that leadership back for next year, massive. Yeah, star category is well earned for Genesis Smith.
Absolutely. And we end things out here. We round it out with Dalton Johnson, who just announced his return to Arizona.
Shout out.
Texas to Tucson, alive and well with Dalton Johnson. He's a Kevin Someone guy. Can you believe that? Dalton Johnson is a Kevin Someone recruit.
They still make those?
Yeah, he's the only one, I believe, still left on the roster from a very, very bad class. But Dalton Johnson was an obvious gem in the rough there, diamond in the rough. So I think Dalton Johnson is a starter as well. I put him right behind Treydan Stukes. And I think the strength of this team right now, when you look at it on paper, is the defensive back group.
Yeah.
I mean, we look at this list here, and you have Genesis Smith and Javion Cole in the star category. You have Treydan Stukes, Dalton Johnson, and Jayshon Foster Ramos, and Michael Dansby in the starter category. I mean, that's your DB room right there. That's the crux of it. So I think, you lose a Gunnar Maldonado to Kansas State, and it hurts because we do love Gunnar Maldonado and the things he did for this program. But yeah, I think this is pretty sweet here. Where I think this DB room is in a good spot. We got Blake Gotcher in the
shout
chat.
out Blake, man. We
love
appreciate you. Thank you for choosing our school. We really appreciate it. We do have you in the boom or bust, and we're hoping you boom for sure.
Absolutely, and we do think you're gonna boom. I have a lot of confidence in you, Blake. But we're just trying to be real here. But yes, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Blake with the rock on emoji. I mean, that's huge. We got super chat to hit here. AZ Catch G, my guy.
First super chat. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. First super chat. I mean, that's kind of huge. We should probably frame that. But AZ Catch G, $2 says, "Good seeing you guys. Best of luck with the show. Thanks, brother."
We appreciate you.
Yeah, he's come to some of our events before. Great guy. Wife's very nice as well. So yeah, we appreciate the support.
Yeah. We appreciate all your support. Honestly, thank you for everyone being here today. Like we appreciate all of it. Like honestly, hit a like as well if you haven't.
Absolutely.
If you're here and you haven't hit the like, it's just a click. If you're in full screen, it's 2 clicks. That's it. Super simple.
It's really easy to hit that like button, and it helps us out a lot, obviously. And yeah, I mean, this has been a lot of fun, Kevin. I mean, I'm really excited about this show. This exercise we did today, I think was a solid, breakdown of just everybody we've gotten so far. Obviously, the show kind of had a lull from the last show to now, and I think that should hopefully catch everybody back up a little bit.
We hope we gave you everything you needed for the break that we did take, the little sabbatical. Had to get right, had to get in these seats and do what we do best. So yeah, I'm excited for the journey that's going to come. I'm excited to cover the season that's upcoming with all y'all in the chat. And yeah, Damon, what you got?
As am I. And I believe tomorrow we'll be talking a little bit more TCU basketball preview. We'll be breaking that down as well.
Conference play.
Oh, for sure. And any other news that comes out from then and now, we're on top of it. So make sure you follow me. I am at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. Make sure you follow Kevin. He is at
Kevo Post. So KEVO Posts. And y'all know how to spell post. Come on now.
Yeah, that's an at change. So if you guys are unfamiliar with his new at, that's Kevo Posts. And of course, make sure you guys are following the show account, and that's at PHNX_Wildcats. And of course, that's going to be the hub for everything that this show does and creates, and all of you as well, this community that we have here. So, a lot of fun today. A lot of great times breaking it down. Thank you to everybody in the chat. I know I saw a lot of my boys in the chat. Sean, Kevin, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you. Erica, all the PHNX personalities that got in here, and then just all the Cats fans. We love you guys.
Shout out also to the family members and the players. Shout out to Blake Gotcher. Shout out to Ben Wysong. Shout out to all of them. Shout out to my mom and my grandpa in the chat as well. Shout out June. Shout out Tom. Love y'all. Miss y'all. Have Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. And
yeah, it's been a great show. It's been a great episode, and we look forward to hitting you guys with this at noon tomorrow. So thank you guys for watching, and peace.
We all silly like the mayor.